Minestrone soup is so healthy, quick and delicious, and this recipe I'm going to show you, we made it recently at home and we loved it, so we did. So it's very, very simple. We're going to do a bit of chopping. I'm going to heat my saucepan. I already have one cooked because it takes about 20 minutes, but it keeps really well in your fridge. So we have one carrot peeled, we have some celery, so I'll just show you a bit of knife skills here. So we're literally going to cut using the big chef's knife. So we're going to bring our celery, and when you're chopping, if you curve your fingers like this, the knife will never go near the tips, and that's really important. So you don't have to cut it too small or too big. Just make sure it's washed and then go right to the end of the celery. I like celery, it's lovely in a soup, lovely in casseroles. Now for the carrot, just use your potato peeler. So we're going to cut this into some cubes. So I'll just show you the technique here. So it's a wee bit firmer, so we'll just do this part here first. So again, just rock it over and back. Just be careful, watch the fingers. And the proper name for this is just a kind of brunoise, okay? So we literally cut this in half. This is the top or the bottom of the carrot, a little bit thinner. So the hardest part is really just doing the chopping. It's actually a really, really simple soup. A couple of cloves of garlic. Garlic works really well in this. And I'm going to use my garlic crusher. So we're going to heat the pot. Peel the garlic just with a sharp knife, and then you literally just rock it over and back. So just over and back like that. Now this is going to go into the pot in a minute, and we'll just bring in our vegetables. Before we do that, we're going to use some nice extra virgin olive oil. So that's it there, the Simply Better one I'm going to use, or you can use some rapeseed. Okay, so a nice drizzle of that. Then in goes our carrot. You can put onion in, don't worry about that. But the tomato sauce we're going to use, which I'm going to show you now, has onion in it, so it has. Okay, the garlic. Bring over your little garlic crusher. And then just literally scrape all that in. You know, the beautiful thing about this, it's so easy to wash. You know, that's really important. So we're not looking to get any colour here onto the vegetables. We're just looking to combine them, combine the flavour, just literally cook them for a minute or two. You can put in butter, I'm not putting any of that for a change. You know the way I love butter. Okay, so pasta, we'll talk about that in a moment. Tomato puree, we're going to put this in here. But this is such a beautiful tomato sauce. So it's a tomato and basil sauce, pasta sauce, really, really good in this recipe. There's no added sugar. So it's made with extra virgin olive oil. There's some beautiful Italian tomatoes, Italian pulp, tomato paste, fresh basil, and some chopped onion. You can see that. It really is excellent. It's a very clean product, and that's the word I love when it comes to food. There's no nasties, there's no additives. It's just the beautiful natural Italian produce. So I met the lady who actually makes this from Puglia about 3 years ago. She drove up nearly 3.5 hours to see me. We interviewed her, and just her love and her passion for what she did was very, very special. So this is a really, really beautiful sauce, and it really is the intense sun that gives the Italian tomatoes and basil its beautiful, unique flavour. So if we go back to the base for our soup, so carrots, celery, we're going to put the full jar of this. Okay. So this is an ambient product, Simply Better also do a fresh tomato sauce. This is the one that I would have at home. Really good if you're doing a pizza topping, that kind of thing. We're going to put in our tomato puree. So that's about 1 large spoonful of tomato puree. And then we're just going to literally put in some vegetable stock. Okay. So it couldn't be easier. No flour, it's not gloopy, it's in no way heavy. You want a soup that is full of texture, lots of lovely flavour. Now we're going to talk about the pasta, but before I do that, we're going to literally put in our green beans into this one here. So the green beans I've cut in roughly half the size of your small finger. So they're going to go in. So this one is already cooked here. So I'm just going to let them cook, bring that back to the boil here. So let's talk about the pasta. This is the spaghetti, the bronze dye spaghetti. So what bronze dye means, everyone, it's a little, it's actually a plate that the dried pasta goes through, so it is, and it gives it that texture. I'll just show you very, very closely here. I'll take a couple of these out. And you can see that little bit of texture that kind of catches the sauce of the soup. So whatever you're using there. So that's what bronze die means. And then you have the PGI logo, Protected Geographical Indication. So it's a town, used to be a village, but it's got much bigger outside Naples. So we got to visit the producer of this pasta when I was doing my Italian show. And for me, Italian food is some of the best food you'll ever eat. Their passion, their love, and how regional, I didn't realize that, how regional Italian food really is. And you can see why it's possibly the most cooked cuisine in the world. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this to the boil, and then we're going to add in our pasta. So I've made this with orzo. Penne I think is a little bit too big for this, but this really nice spaghetti will work really nice, or you can use linguine, but the dried pasta is definitely the one to use for this. Now, in this one here, we're going to literally just, this is a can of some butter beans. So I have them rinsed here. Just put them through a sieve, so you're getting lots of lovely flavour and texture. I've seen recipes with pancetta, which is a cured Italian style bacon, which will work really well, and also some kale. Now kale is a kind of like member of the cabbage family, and it's a really nice ingredient to use in this if you want to. So we're just going to stir that through there. So back onto the one that I've shown you how to make. The key for this is that really nice tomato sauce. Honestly, when you taste this tomato sauce, you'll never go back to another one. And you know, I could show you how to make a tomato sauce, but it wouldn't be as good as that, because it is the Italian tomatoes. It's the sun. So our pasta, everyone, we're going to pop that in. Give it a good stir. You don't pre-cook it. It cooks in the stock, in that lovely tomato sauce, and I've enriched it with the tomato puree. So that needs to come to the boil, and then you let that simmer for roughly about maybe 10, 12, 15 minutes max. And then after that, when you're happy with the pasta that it's cooked, then you add in your green beans. You can use peas, frozen peas, you can put in spinach, kale, all that. So if I put them in now, what's going to happen is that they're going to overcook, and I don't want that. You want a little bit of texture. I'm going to finish it with this lovely fresh pesto, okay, part of the Simply Better collection. So this is it here. I always have some of that in my fridge. I think it's a super product. And we just stir this. Now you will need salt and pepper. So a couple of nice pinches of sea salt. Taste it, remember that. Okay, so little grind of the salt there. And then we give this a stir here. So this just coming back to the boil. So if you look at all the texture, the carrots have kept their shape. You have the pasta, which is cooked, and it kind of swells up and it softens. And it just is really delicious. The one thing I like to do at the very end, because this is ready to be served, is fresh basil. So if we just come back to this just one more time, just give it a stir that the pasta doesn't catch or stick at the bottom. Let that literally come to the boil, let it simmer. So simmer is just a gentle way of cooking it. So we'll get some lovely fresh basil. I love these plants because they just add so much freshness. Fresh basil, there's nothing like it. It's one of my favorite herbs. So we're going to literally chop this. Now, normally when you chop basil and you leave it on the board or wherever you're chopping it, it can go black and discolor, but because we're putting this straight in to the soup, like that, we're going to stir that through, and then we're going to serve this up. And that's as easy a minestrone as you'll ever make. What I love about this is that it keeps really well in your fridge. So we would have made a batch of this at the beginning of the week, and it'll keep for 4 or 5 days in your fridge. No problem at all. Taste it. Make sure you have enough salt in it. Make sure that it's seasoned properly. You know, if you need more pepper. So if you just look closely at the texture, the green beans are just cooked. The butter beans, well, they're just rinsed off. The carrots should hold their shape. So this is an absolutely so healthy, so delicious soup. So then we just look at that. But the key for this recipe, I think, is that tomato sauce. To be honest with you, I think it's just such a fantastic product. And then we're going to finish this with a little bit of pesto. There's a saying in Cavan, there's eating and drinking in the soup, and that's for sure. There's a lot of different textures and flavours, and after this certainly you're not going to be hungry. I can tell you that. But it's so good for you, it's so healthy, very natural, lots of vegetables there. And then a little bit of pesto. Just on top. This is optional. And there you have it. So that's my Italian style minestrone with our beautiful tomato sauce, the pasta, and then that fresh basil pesto and the butter beans. You have a lot of different flavours and textures there. I hope you try this recipe. It's definitely a winner in our house.